Last week it was announced that the Tampa Bay Rays will not be going ahead with plans to build a new ballpark in St. Petersburg. A year ago it seemed like a foregone conclusion that the Rays would be moving into a brand new venue, probably in 2028. Relocation was off the table. Rays were staying in Tampa Bay. End of story. Now, as the Rays are gearing up to play in a minor league stadium for the 2025 season, their future is very uncertain. Relocation is being talked about again, with the usual names being thrown around: Montreal, Nashville, and especially Orlando. I guess one good thing to come from this is now they can repair the Trop and stay there a while. They were looking at the possibility of playing at Steinbrenner Field for 3 years or more, while the new stadium was being built. It wouldn't make sense to have the roof of Tropicana Field repaired just to play there for 2 more years, before the new stadium opens. Since there will not be a new stadium, they're going to play in the Trop for the foreseeable future. It will be worth it to have the roof repaired. Cost will be $100 million, and it can be ready for the 2026 season. So that's good news. But once the Trop gets repaired and the Rays move back in, that's not the end of it. The Trop was the problem in the first place. Remember, MLB expansion is not going to take place until the A's and Rays stadium issues are taken care of, as stated by MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. And for the Rays, once they get back to Tropicana Field, they'll be right back where they started. No progress, just a step backward, where they have to play at Steinbrenner Field for a year. The new roof at Tropicana Field, by the way, will not be an improvement of any kind, just a replacement. Some people have mistakenly believed they could use this chance to improve upon the appearance. Won't be possible. Same old Trop, and that's not a good thing. So they go back to the old park in St. Pete for a while, and then what? They have nothing planned beyond that. Manfred said MLB remains committed to the Tampa Bay region, not necessarily St. Pete, but the whole Tampa Bay area. Just how committed are they, though? It brings up a good question. Is it worth it to stay in Tampa Bay? Or is it time to move on and give another area of the state, or the country, a shot at hosting this major league franchise? If you look at comments on social media about this topic, a lot of people are saying just move the team already. Baseball in Florida doesn't work. Hasn't worked since day one. And they've got a point, somewhat. Attendance for the Rays has been quite low ever since they were awarded a team back in 1998, despite frequent postseason appearances and 2 trips to the World Series. Same thing in Miami, very low attendance in spite of winning the World Series, twice. They said the problem was the stadium they were playing in, and the location of it, just as the Rays are saying now. The Marlins were awarded a brand new ballpark in a good location, and same problem, no one's showing up. Then in Tampa Bay you have the same problem, same solution being offered up, and the exact same state. Easy to understand why people think they're just going to repeat the same mistake if they give the Rays a new ballpark like they want. But there are reasons to believe that baseball in Tampa Bay will work if it operates under different circumstances. Ask any resident of the Tampa area and they'll tell you what's wrong with the current setup. 1. Tropicana Field is in St. Pete, too far away from the city, where most of the population is. And the traffic going across the bridge is a nightmare, so a lot of people just don't bother. Even though they're Rays fans, it's just not worth it, or even possible, with all the driving both ways. Maybe it's better to go on the weekend when you've got more time to spare. But then there's another problem they'll bring up. There's really not much to do in St. Pete, besides going to a baseball game. No other entertainment options before or after the game. So people may feel it's better to spend a Saturday or Sunday in Tampa, rather than going out to St. Pete, just for a game. Then if you do decide to go out to the Trop, you're stuck in one of the ugliest ballparks for a few hours. We don't need Tampa Bay residents to tell us this, we can all see it on our screens. Ask any baseball fan for his list of major league ballparks he wants to see in his lifetime, and Tropicana Field will be number 29 or 30. Perfectly understandable why local residents don't want to sit through all that traffic just to spend an afternoon or evening at the Trop. It's like standing in line to eat at the worst restaurant in town, when it's easier to just go home and make a sandwich. That's why they had this plan: build a new bridge going across to replace the old one, a better bridge where the traffic can flow through more easily. This wasn't just planned with the Rays in mind, but to lessen the traffic in general. This is going to happen, should be ready to go in early 2026. If that was the biggest reason people weren't heading out to Rays games, then we should see a big jump in attendance in the 2026 season, when the Rays move back into Tropicana Field. There were also plans to develop the area and make it a place people would want to stay for the weekend, with the new stadium being the centerpiece of this new area. Not a bad idea really, but with the stadium deal dead, now the only part of that plan that'll be carried out is the new bridge. And like I said, that wasn't a stadium-related plan anyway. With the new bridge and a better flow of traffic making it easier to get out to St. Pete, 2026 might be seen as a test. If the traffic was the biggest hindrance, then we should see a rise in attendance. From this, they can judge if it's worth it to build a new stadium in St. Petersburg or not. If the attendance figures don't budge, it's time to give up on the idea of a new stadium in St. Petersburg. Obviously, people are going to ask, why not build a ballpark in the city where all the people are? That's what they are hoping to do before they came up with the plan for a new ballpark in St. Pete. The reason for not building one in the city, at least from what I heard, is they couldn't find a suitable site or reach a reasonable deal on any place in the city. Maybe they can try again, I don't know. If they did manage to get one built in the city, would that solve all their problems? It is a big city, but then so is Miami. The real question is, are there a lot of Rays fans in the city? TV ratings would seem to say yes. Though the team usually ranks in the bottom 5 in attendance, they rank around the middle among the 30 MLB teams in TV ratings. So the theory about Tampa being full of Rays fans who just don't want to go all the way to St. Pete and would rather just stay at home, turn on the TV, and follow their team that way may be true after all. And it's one of the top 15 media markets in the U.S. That may explain why MLB says they're committed to the region. They don't want to give up so easily. And they shouldn't. Plenty of reasons to try to stay and make it work. But what happens if they can't reach a deal for a new stadium in Tampa or St. Pete? Then they may consider relocating. Where to? Well, it would have to be in the east. There are 2 good cities out west, Portland and Salt Lake City, which I talked about last week. But this is not expansion we're talking about, it's relocation. They don't want to do a realignment when just one team is changing cities. It has to be in the east. And the city that everyone's talking about right now is Orlando. The Orlando Dreamers, the group trying to bring Major League Baseball to Orlando, has been speaking up in the last few days, seizing upon the uncertainty in nearby Tampa to market themselves as a relocation candidate. Here's what the Dreamers have got. They've got investors for the team and for the stadium, around $450 million towards stadium construction. They don't have any promise of funding from the local government, but $450 million is a good amount to start with. And they believe they can get private funding up to $1 billion, and the county may be willing to cover the other half. Hall of Famer Barry Larkin is a longtime resident of Orlando, and he is getting behind the push for a major league team there. Orlando is the 15th largest media market, just a little behind Tampa, and the largest market without an MLB team. Annual growth rate of 2.3%, the youngest city in Florida with a median age of 33. 80 million tourists last year, and most of the tourism Orlando gets is during the major league season. They want to build a stadium in the heart of the tourist district with a capacity of approximately 45,000. A lot of new stadiums are getting smaller these days, but Orlando's thinking big. And really, this is their only shot. If the Rays do not move, there's no way Orlando's getting an expansion team. The 2 cities are only 90 minutes apart. No way, not in this day and age. That's why they're wasting no time pushing themselves to the front of the line to scoop up the Rays if a deal cannot be reached in Tampa. Orlando's proximity to Tampa could actually be a good thing in the event of relocation. They'd still have a lot of work to do building up a fan base, but they wouldn't be starting from scratch. There are surely some Rays fans in the Orlando area already, and Rays fans from Tampa can make the occasional trip out to Orlando. And for this reason, I would suggest they keep the name Rays. If they move to Nashville, they become the Stars. If they move to Montreal, they become the Expos. But if they move to Orlando, it's a continuation of the same team in Central Florida. So they would have something to build on. But I question the idea of getting tourists to fill up the seats. I don't know how many tourists will want to add a ball game to their travel plans. But if it does work and you get a stadium full of out-of-state visitors, it could get really quiet in there with no one rooting for the home team. But if they can secure the funding, I don't see why not. I mean, if they can't get any kind of deal in Tampa, that is. We haven't heard anything from Nashville, Montreal, or one of the Carolina cities about taking in a relocated Rays team. Maybe we will hear from one of them soon. Or maybe they're waiting for expansion. Or they might be starting to give up on the idea. But whatever the case is, Orlando looks like the most likely place for a relocated Rays team at the moment. I would say the best thing for the Rays would be a new stadium in the city of Tampa. I really believe they can draw well if they're located where all the people are. If that's not possible, it comes down to St. Pete and Orlando, and I would lean towards Orlando. Though it is true that a new stadium in St. Pete with a smoother flow of traffic going to and from the city will draw larger crowds than what the Rays have been seeing over the years. Would the crowds be large enough to make it worth staying there? Or will it be time to pack up and head to Orlando, or some other city outside of Florida? That's what they'll have to try and decide. And what do you think the Rays will do, should do, could do? Leave your answer in the comments. If you're from Central Florida, is there any key information I'm missing here? I'll be glad to hear it if you've got anything. Anyway, that's all for this one. Until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.